Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Oh,
Morning.
okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, before we jump in, Mike wanted to mention a few things. So, Mike, you have the floor.
Cool. Thank you, Esther. Good morning, everyone. Just a quick reminder about your general education courses. I know that Esther usually says this. Um, that's fine. But I also wanted to add on to what she usually says. Please, please, please make sure you're completing your general education work. Okay, your weekly work. Don't be late on that. That's how they get your attendance for those general education asynchronous classes. If you don't turn in your work, you are counted as absent. If you're absent, it goes into your judgy as being absent. Those absences need to be made up. Okay, now this is really important. All absences for all courses must be made up before the end of the quarter. If they're not, you can be dropped from the program. Okay, this is a federal requirement, not just a Gurnick requirement. Okay, that is tied to your financial aid. If financial aid catches that you haven't been attending classes, or if you have even just one, they'll drop you from the program. Okay, do not miss your general education work. Don't miss any of your work. But if you do, make sure you turn in a note, make sure you make it up. Okay? Questions, concerns? I'm getting some emails from some of our general education instructors saying that we've missed some work from some of you. So just make sure you complete everything, okay? Make sure you complete it on time. All right, perfect. That's all I have. Thanks, Esther.
You're welcome. And just to add on to that, guys, if you wanted to meet with me to go over some biology or to go over some anatomy and physiology, that's I'm open for that too. Okay, if you guys need support going over some things, okay. Um, I do have a lot of students, and my schedule is pretty booked. But as most of you can see, I've been doing my best to make sure that I squeeze you in and around my lecture times to make sure that we do get that time in. Okay, so I just want you to know that even though those are Gen Ed courses, um, I will be more than happy to go over any questions you have in those classes or review some concepts. Okay, guys? Okay, now let's make sure that our mics are off and our cameras are on, so I can see all of your wonderful faces. Okay, so before we jump into the material, let's go over what we are covering this week. Okay, so we are covering week 5 course material. Okay, today is the 28th. Yesterday, I'm hovering over my calendar here. Yesterday, you had quiz, assignment, and discussion 4 due. You guys all did fantastic. I have no missing work. Everyone turned in their work. But I wanted to show week 5. I don't know why it only shows quiz 5 opens, but week 5 opened. So you'll see that on the first line here. Week 5 opened yesterday. Okay. Did you guys get my general forum post about MRI Safety Week? Give me a thumbs up if you did. Yes. Okay, good, good, good. If you didn't, check it out, guys. I'll just jump over real quick. Make sure that we're definitely checking the general form. The general form is very important for me in my classes in particular. This is the best way that I can communicate with you. If you will have classes with me later in the quarter, and same thing, same structure to the class. Always check the general form. It will be the same. So when you click on the general forum, I went in yesterday and shared the 2 links with you guys for the safety week, and just a general reminder that week 4 was due. And oh, I also encourage you guys to check out week 5. Check those Clover Learning videos, which I'm gonna go over in just a second. So let's jump back in. Also, with week 5 opening yesterday, let me tab over. Your coursework is going to be due August 3rd. Okay, August 3rd. Your assignment, your discussion, and your quiz every week. Sometimes, guys, technology is technology and it will technology, which is very frustrating. Meaning you may not have everything cross over onto this calendar like I intended to do so. Okay. I manually put these dates in to make sure. Sometimes things are wonky. So you are always going to double check the link here, due date schedule, and that gives you your due date schedule too. Okay, guys, if things go wonky, but I think you guys got the hang of it now. Every week we've got a quiz discussion and assignment due on Mondays. Every Monday following the lecture that we have on Tuesdays. Okay. Um the Clover learning videos are a little bit long this week. They're about 40 minutes, okay? Take your time with these. These videos are supplemental to and it supplemental to what I'm saying and in addition to lecture. Okay. This is still counted as your class time, quote unquote, the work that you're putting in for your credit hours. Okay. So part of it is live lecture, part of it is self paced watching these videos, and the other part is your time on your task, which is your assignments, your discussions, and your quizzes. And all of that together, guys, gives you your full credit for the class. So take your time with these. They are important. They do give that visual representation of what we go over in class. Okay, for the assignment, let's open up this week's assignment. I sounds like somebody's mic is open. Let me double check. I hear some noise. Let me just double check, guys. Make sure that our mics are off. Okay. For the assignment this week, you will see here that I have said the assignment is preparing you for the upcoming midterm next week. For the upcoming midterm next week. Can you guys believe that you're essentially almost halfway through the quarter? Is that wild? It's wild, right? I feel like we just started yesterday. Um, so, with that being said, if you open up the assignment and you'll see what the assignment is titled Midterm Exam Study Guide. When you click on that link, you are going to get, let's zoom in so we can all see here. You are going to get your midterm study guide. Okay. I know that your guys' time is limited. You've got a lot going on. So I have doubled up for you, eased your workload a little bit. Your assignment is your midterm study guide study time. Okay. Does that sound fair? So no extra, nothing extra for the assignment. You're actually going to take your time on the assignment, answer these questions. These questions are going to link you and connect you with what to expect on the quiz. I mean, on the midterm. And if you could answer these questions, you will do well on the midterm. Okay, guys. So I have each section broken up here. We've got hydrogen. What do I want you to zone in and focus on for the hydrogen atoms? Same thing for the main magnetic field or precession, RF excitation, signal, relaxation, tissue relaxation, pulse sequences. And if you haven't caught on, we haven't really talked about pulse sequences. That's going to be today. That's going to be today what we're going to introduce. Okay. So this midterm study guide is going to cover some key points that we're going over in lecture today. Okay. Your midterm is cumulative. It will be 50 questions. You will have roughly 2 hours to complete. Nothing too strenuous, right? Nothing too stressful. You guys got this. You guys did fantastic on last night's quiz. I already checked into your work, read your discussions, and looked at your quizzes, and you guys are doing great. So keep on doing what you're doing because you're doing fantastic in the class. Um, so to piggyback on this study guide, You will upload your answers filled in and upload it just like any other assignment that we've done for the weeks. Does that make sense? So you just fill it out, study it, upload it and into your week 5 assignment. Now, where are you going to get the answers? It's going to be the material that we've covered in class, right? You're going to look at your notes. You're going to look at past study guides. Week 1 and week 2. We skipped week 3. You have one for week 4. So look at those. Okay. Everything that would have been in the week 3 study guide is in this midterm study guide. Okay. So you guys have all your tools. You're not missing anything. Um, Once you upload your assignment, once you guys turn all this in, next week, next week on our lecture, which is, let me look at my calendar. Today's the 28th. Next week on August 4th, Tuesday, August 4th, we will still have a mandatory lecture. That is our midterm lecture. What are we going to do for midterm? It's going to be a Q&A style class, meaning you're going to present any questions you have from this study guide or in general, and you're going to ask me the questions. Or I may ask you some questions based on what other classmates ask me. Does that make sense? So lecture is not going to be structured where I present slides and we go over the concepts. It's going to be a Q&A based on this study guide. So when you leave class on Tuesday the 4th, you have all your answers and you have a week to study for your midterm. You guys earned that. Remember, we doubled up on week 1. Remember, we did week 1 and week 2. So no new material will be covered next week. It is dedicated solely to studying for the midterm. Okay. So when is your midterm due? Put it in the chat. When is your midterm due? When is your midterm due for intro? Yes, August 10th, August 10th. So we meet for class on August 4th. We go over any last minute questions. Yes, guys. Yep, 8:10. And then on Monday, 8:10, your midterm is due. I did have some students reach out to me last night. I happened to be up and I was troubleshooting with them when they were kicked out of Proctorio. Because the student reached out to me before the quiz closed, I was able to reopen the quiz. Remember, I can't open the quiz once it closes. So if you wait until 11:30 at night to take your midterm, chances are I'll be sleeping and I won't be able to help you troubleshoot why you were kicked out. Okay. I encourage everyone, if any of their settings are giving any pushback, meaning your computer is either taking too long to load Proctorio, you're getting flags and warnings that you're not able to turn on Proctorio, I encourage you guys to reach out to Moodle Help using your Gurnick email, Moodle Help. They can actually tap into your IP address and look at your computer and figure out if your settings are where they need to be, if your hardware, that your actual computer is running the way it needs to be running so that we can troubleshoot beforehand. Okay? That support and help is there for you guys. So please know that you have that accessible to you anytime. Now, if you email Moodle help from your Gurnick email at 11 at night, chances are they're probably sleeping too, and they're not going to get back to you, right? But if you attempt to take your midterm or any quizzes, maybe the day before it's due, and you run into some issues, Moodle help will definitely respond to you, which is what I had happen last night with a classmate. We were able to get through it. Okay. So please be proactive, guys, with your computer settings and make sure that Proctorio is not going to kick you out. But you guys all did great and turned in your work and completed your quizzes. So I think we are going to be just fine. Okay. Any questions about the assignment for this week, which is going to be due on Monday?
So the assignment is basically just the midterm study guide that we're uploading?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. let's jump over to your discussion. Okay. I figured out you guys will not see any more double posts like we did last week. I was able to figure out and take some time, work behind the scenes to figure that out. So you guys won't see that anymore. On your discussion, you will see here that it is due Monday. I ask you to click on my initial post, which you guys have all done. After you open my post, you're going to answer the question I have for 5 points, and then you're going to respond to a classmate for another 5 points. So, what did I ask of you guys? Click on the discussion. What did we say? We are arriving midway point of the quarter. In weeks 1 through 4, we have explored the core fundamentals of MRI. We introduced the hardware components that give us the ability to generate MRI images. What has been the most difficult concept to learn that we have covered? Out of everything we've covered, what's been the most difficult for you to kind of sink your teeth in, to grasp, to hold on to, right? Like what has been annoying? What has been frustrating? I want to hear it. I want to know what has been annoying or frustrating or difficult to understand. Please explain why this concept was difficult and how you are actively working to refine your understanding. Okay. And then responding to your classmate. Oh, if you didn't find anything difficult, if you found everything relatively easy, which I would say most of the class possibly feels this way. I don't know. You guys are all doing great on your quiz scores. Share something that's been most interesting. Share a concept that has been most interesting to you thus far that we've covered, and tell me why you've enjoyed it. Why? Okay. Responding to your classmates. You have two options. You can either um, agree with your classmates' difficulty and frustration with learning with a classmate if it resonates. Oh, if it resonates with you guys, say, hey, I agree. I had the same hard time with you. This is what I got stuck on, and explain. Okay. Same thing with the second prompt. If you didn't find anything difficult, expound, dive a little deeper into what your classmate shares is what their favorite concept is and why you like what they shared, and add how that has enhanced or changed your perspective and look on things. You guys are all doing fantastic with your responses. I did read everything from last night. Well, I tried to go through everything last night. Make sure that we're not just saying we agree. You gotta dive a little deeper because I do read these and I enjoy reading them. With last night's discussion, I wanted to ask you, how hard was it? Did you struggle with explaining MRI with just 3 sentences? Was it weird?
It was a little bit, and it's funny
Yes.
because I work as an assistant, and I was even telling the technologist, I was like, I say this every day, and now all of a sudden I forget. Like I totally blanked out on how exactly to explain it.
Yes. Yes. There is a method to my madness, guys. Remember, everything I do is to support you and to give you tools. It's the mama bear in me. I'm giving you tools that you don't even know I'm doing it, right? So when I asked you, explain MRI in 3 sentences, I actually am asking your brain to zoom out. Zoom out from all the deeper layers and give me a general overview. And isn't it surprising how that was difficult? You would think that explaining MRI in just 3 sentences would be easy. Be like, yeah, this is what we do. This, but how many of your brains went to, well, wait a minute. How do I know which or what I want to say this, but this is more important. So the idea, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Let me see what your guys' responses are here in the chat. I absolutely loved reading your responses here. Let's see. Forces you to boil it down to the most essential. Yes, it does, Vince. It's hard to know what to include. Yes, yes, it is hard to know what to include. I feel like I needed to add more info. No. Well, yeah, Crystal, you're going to want to add more info, right? But I only wanted 3 sentences. So, hard not to get caught up in the details. Yes, thank you, Ty, for mentioning that. I did see some of you guys went more than 3 sentences. You weren't supposed to. I only wanted 3 sentences. I had to keep reminding myself to say it like I was talking to a patient. Yes, yes. Excellent, excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, Okay, guys. Um, any questions for this week? Any questions for next week? We're all coming to class, and we know when our midterm is due. Okay.
I have a question, Professor.
Yes.
Are we going to get any feedback on the assignment that we turned in for this week? Is that, or is this like something that it's like a one-on-one thing? We schedule an
It's
appointment to
really
talk
a
to them.
one-on-one thing. I've already met
Okay.
with some of you guys to go over the assignment. If I see that there's more than a handful of students that are kind of veering off in one direction that I don't want you to veer off, then I'll announce it in class. In fact, I'm going to announce something from the assignment that we did in week 2 and week 3. I'm going to give that feedback now because I want to make sure before we jump into the midterm and before we're studying for the midterm that we really refine this concept. All of you are there, but I want to make sure that we kind of chisel it a little bit more so that you're concrete in your understanding. So, Bardo, I will, if I see a collective, right? Class time, we're a little bit limited. We're fast paced. There's a lot to cover. So, I can go over it in class, but I do like that one on one because not everyone, we're not all at the same level essentially, right? Of how we're articulating, but I want us to all be there. So that's why I reserve going over assignments in class if there's more than a handful that are kind of going off in a different direction.
Thank you.
So, yes, of course. So please schedule time with me. I have responded to your guys' emails this morning. Those of you that wanted to meet after class, some of your classmates have already booked time with me. So I want to remind you guys, go up into the office hours tab. This is under the general section here. Click on the office hours tab. You're going to be directed to this link. You're going to click on this link. It's going to show you what is left that's open to reserve. Okay. Looks like I only have 3 spots left on Monday. Everything else is booked. It's not always going to look like this. If there is a time that you have to meet with me and it's not available, send me an email and give me some options for your availability. Then I'll be able to plug you in and around my other lecture times. Okay? Because I do want you to get in with me if you want to get in with me. I just might have to maneuver and play with some things with my schedule. Okay, guys? Okay. Let me get this here and jump in to our lecture. Okay. Can everyone see my screen of the lecture slides? Awesome. Audio's good. Everyone can hear me. No echoing. Awesome. 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 Okay. Everything's working the way it's supposed to be working. Okay. So today, as the slide says, tissue relaxation and pulse sequence design in MRI. We're going to be connecting T1 and T2 values to the idea and the concept around image contrast, RF energy, and sequence timing. Okay, sequence timing. So put your seatbelts, buckle your seatbelts, because we are going for a fun ride in today's lecture. I'm going to warn you, it is a little heavy, meaning it's a lot. Okay, this is why I record the lectures. You guys can pause me and take your time later. Okay, if I am ever going too fast in any of my lectures, don't feel shy or don't be afraid to say, "Hey, can you slow down a little bit?" Or can you re-say that? Okay, maybe in a different way. Can you give us an example? I want to make sure uh, that we're all together in what we're going over. Okay. Okay. So before we jump in, before we jump in, I wanted to touch on assignment 3 and assignment 2 with regards to the hydrogen atoms and the RF energy. Okay. And I wanted to refine understanding. Some of you guys mentioned some things in your assignment from last week, week 4, with regards to me asking you about the net magnetization vector. Okay, I asked you about the NMV, and you guys all did great. I want to just sharpen a little bit, and I'm going to pull from some information of how you answered on assignment 3 and assignment 4. So let's go over that a little bit. Now, we talked about an introductory in weeks 1 and week 2 that hydrogen atoms, oh, that hydrogen, there we go. Why is my pen not? Sorry, guys. That hydrogen atoms are randomly spinning in random orientations within the human body, right? And that we have to introduce the hydrogen atoms in the human body into the main magnetic field. And when we do that, we have alignment of hydrogen parallel with B sub 0. And then we have some hydrogen anti-parallel, right? And we defined that the parallel is a lower energy. And that this orientation, sorry about my writing, guys, my pen is being wonky, that the anti-parallel would be considered higher energy. Now, some of you guys mentioned to me the connection to delivering the RF pulse, okay? And you said that the connection was that when we deliver the RF pulse, we explained that the hydrogen absorbed that energy, right? We're all together on that. That when we deliver the RF pulse, the hydrogen absorb that energy. And then when we take away that RF pulse, they relax. And when they relax back into alignment with the main magnetic field, they're going to give off a signal, right? That was general superficial. Some of you guys have already picked up on that when we deliver that RF energy and it's absorbed, which is what we covered, that these hydrogen atoms are then going to move to a higher energy. You guys with me? And that once we take that RF away, they are going to release that energy and they're still going to align with B sub 0. I didn't cover this to this detail because I wanted you guys to stay with the idea and not get confused that the orientation of hydrogen atoms and the energy states and levels associated with simply the alignment of B sub 0 is different than when we give the RF pulse and we deposit that energy. Okay? Does this make sense? Give me a thumbs up if it makes sense. Okay. So those of you, when your brain went a little bit further and said, well, yes, when I give the RF energy, that RF energy is going to tip those hydrogen atoms into higher energy states. That is accurate. But I wanted you to not go that far. And I wanted you to keep them separate. Okay. So that we incrementally advance to the next level. Okay. So those of you that went here, I wanted to just confirm and validate where your brain was going. And there was a reason why I didn't expound and touch on this. Okay. Before we jump into lecture, I wanted to refine one other thing. Oh, Ty, go ahead.
So are you saying that when the photons absorb the RF pulse, that they are spinning into the same energy state as the spin down
Yes,
photons already were
correct.
okay. So
Yes,
some of them might be doing that depending on the pulse. If you hit them hard enough, then they might go all the way to the
yes, yes.
180, but that's going to depend on the RF pulse.
Exactly, which we're going to touch on
and how
today.
you, yeah, okay. Okay, I
Yeah,
think I get it. Thank you.
you're welcome. So you guys can see that it's kind of difficult to like introduce you to these concepts without going too deep because our brains want to know, uh, well, how and why, right? So I wanted to go over that in intro. In intro, which is the class you're in, the entire course, we're going to talk about what MRI is, what we're using hydrogen atoms, what disturbs those hydrogen atoms to give us the signal, the RF pulse. What is the RF pulse? Okay. What hardware are we using? If you have picked up on the keyword, all I'm saying is what? What? When you progress into the next classes, predominantly physical principles, physics 1 and physics 2, Kevin is your instructor, and he is going to give you how we do these, why we're doing it, and when we're doing it. We're going to explore today a little bit of when we're doing things, why we're doing things, and how, but it's not going to be as in depth as Kevin's going to go. So, your brains are like my brains. We want to know more. We want to know when we're doing this, how exactly this is happening. We're just building our foundation, so stick to the superficial level. Okay, guys? We will go deeper. I promise you. I promise. And I am Kevin's second instructor. So when you get to those classes, you're going to see myself listed as a second instructor, and I will be happy to go over those deeper levels with you as well. Okay, after you have class with Kevin. Okay, when we have the alignment of the hydrogen atoms, initially with B sub 0, okay, they're not quote unquote standing still and not moving. I want to make sure that we understood this concept. They're not just there, okay? We have to give some dimension, right? Because these are 3D atoms, right? The hydrogen atom is 3D. So the dimension is that, yes, they're aligning, but they are also uh, processing and they are wobbling, meaning that when they're in an alignment with the magnetic field, they're doing this little spin, they're doing this little wobble. They're all in alignment with B sub 0, but they've got this slight movement and wobble. Okay. This is termed the gyromagnetic ratio. It is a constant, meaning that at 1.5 Tesla and 3.0 Tesla, we know without a shadow of a doubt that there's going to be a wobble and there's going to be a precession, meaning we can measure that wobble and measure the precession of the hydrogen atom. Does that make sense, guys?
Can you briefly, and you probably will get to this, but explain how it relates to the Tesla exactly?
Yes, I'm going to get there. Yes. So, this value for all hydrogen atoms is going to be 42.58 megahertz. Okay? That's a constant. It's going to always be that. Now, we get into the Larmor equation. The Larmor equation, which is what we've introduced. Okay? The Larmor equation and you've had this from your reading, okay? The Lamarr equation is this gyromagnetic ratio of 42.58 megahertz for the hydrogen times B sub 0, which is our main magnetic field. Okay, so we're for 1.5, let's change colors. So for 1.5, we're going to take 42.58 and we're going to multiply it by 1.5 Tesla, okay, which is going to give us 63.87 megahertz. And if we have a 3.0 Tesla magnet, we are still going to take the constant 42.58, but now we're going to multiply it by 3.0 Tesla. And that's going to give us 127.74 megahertz. Oops. Let me erase that. This value is the Larmor frequency. This is the RF energy number that we are putting into those hydrogen atoms to disturb them, to deposit that energy. It has to match, meaning the RF energy has to match this value in order to tip the hydrogen and create resonance. Matching resonance, tipping it into the transverse, taking that away, relaxing, and getting energy back. You guys with me on this? This is the connection between the Larmor equation and understanding how we are able to generate a signal. We're able to generate the signal because, excuse me, we are matching the precessional frequency of that of the hydrogen atom with which we deposit the RF pulse. It is a match. So at a 1.5 Tesla, those hydrogen atoms are spinning and precessing about B sub 0 at a measurable quantity of 63.87 megahertz. And the RF energy that I'm depositing is 63.87 megahertz. Okay. Do you have to memorize these values for intro? No. Do you have to memorize these values later? Yes. What I wanted to give you an understanding is I wanted to give you a little bit more to bite off of in context as to Larmor frequency and matching and precession. Does that make sense? Does this help, guys?
Yes.
Give me a thumbs up if it helps. Okay. If not, I can reword it. But stay here. Take notes of what I just shared with you. Keep it superficial. Don't go any further. Okay? Because I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed by all the information.
I have a quick question. If it's not quick, let me know. The gyromagnetic ratio that you said, the gyromagnetic ratio is not synonymous with Larmor frequency. Is that correct? They're related, but they're not the same thing. Is that right?
Correct. They're not the same thing. We have a Larmor equation where we have to plug in a constant, which this is the gyromagnetic ratio. It is that constant. And we take the constant that we know, the wobble and precession of those hydrogen under the influence of a 1.5 Tesla. We know without a shadow of a doubt it's consistent. It's never going to change. It will always be 42.58, which is why you see these two values are both used. This is the constant. They're both used to calculate the precessional frequency at two different magnetic field strengths. That's a constant. So they're not synonymous, we have to know what that constant is in order to calculate the precessional frequency based on the strength of the magnetic field. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that they were not that were like you said they're not the same thing. They're related, but they're not. When someone says gyromagnetic ratio and someone says Larmor equation, they're not the same thing. They're related, but not the same thing. Okay,
Correct.
got it.
And Vincent, let me talk on that. When you say related, the only relationship and the true relationship between that gyromagnetic ratio constant and equating or calculating the magnetic field strength, the only relationship is that it's predictable. It's never going to change. We know exactly what it is always. We have to have this predictability. We have to know exactly the behavior of hydrogen atoms so that we can tap into their energy and we can manipulate their energy. Everything we do, guys, in MRI is manipulating energy. We are manipulating the hydrogen atoms to what we want, to what we say. Bardo, go ahead.
Yes, you might touch up on this, but so the wobble, the precession that we're talking about, when that RF pulse is hitting it, is that is the wobble? Are they all wobbling at the same rate?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
the phase coherence that we talk about later?
Phase coherence has to do with once they're tipped into the transverse plane. Phase coherence is that when we're measuring T2 values, we're measuring the dephasing of the phase coherence, meaning phase coherence, as the term implies, phase, they're all together, coherently, they're all together, right? But remember, we're manipulating energy and we're disturbing that alignment. So when we deposit that RF pulse of that RF energy and we have now tipped it into the transverse plane, we are measuring not only as they relax back, but we're measuring the loss of phase coherence. Okay. I
Okay.
love where you guys are going. Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. Isabella, go ahead.
Okay, I guess you said not to go there, but I was wondering, so all of the hydrogen nuclei are like essentially precessing at different phases when they're, or not different phases, or precessing at different rates when they're aligned with the magnetic field, and then
I'm going to stop you right there. Hydrogen atoms precess at different phases and different rates outside of the magnet.
right.
The minute we put them into the magnet, they are all precessing and in phase at a very specific measurable quantity. They're all precessing in phase at the same time, in the same position, at exactly 42.58 megahertz in the main magnetic field. Now, at a 1.5 Tesla magnet, that is going to be a different quantity. Their spin is going to be different than at a 3.0. The precession is going to be different. You see the difference in values? Okay, I wanted to stop you there because I wanted to make sure that I made that point very clear. The phase, the precession, the wobbling, the orientation is random, not coherent, not together, messy outside of the magnet. But once we're in the magnet, now we're able to see. Now we're able to see. Okay, they're now standing at attention. They're now all aligned and they're listening to us. Okay, we're here. We showed up. What do you want us to do? Right? Isabella, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure that I really drive that point. Okay, go ahead and finish with your question.
No, that was kind of the point I was a little bit confused by, because I know they're all aligned, and I guess I thought that they were out of phase even though they were aligned. And then I thought once we have that RF pulse, they're going in phase, they're processing in phase when they're getting excited. So I guess I was a little confused by that.
On a deeper level, yes, Isabella. Yes, on a deeper level, they may not all quote unquote be in phase. And as we're going to progress, and I'm going to very, very lightly introduce after the midterm how we use RF energy to make them in phase, change their phase coherence to make sure that they're all together and all in alignment. You're not wrong for your brain to go in that direction. In fact, you're not wrong even with that statement. Just don't want us to go there yet, okay? Trust me, guys. Trust me. I know. Just don't go there yet. We are going to go over it. I promise. Okay. Let's keep building our foundation to our house, right? Let's keep building that concrete foundation and making sure that there's no cracks and that we are solid, solid, solid. So we're going to, in this lecture, we're going to connect the concept that specific tissues, oh, let me change my color. Specific tissues have T1 and T2 values. Their relaxation is very specific. And we use this information to design a pulse sequence. And it is this pulse sequence that allows us to really manipulate and hone in on the differences between the T1 and T2 values. This is very, very important, okay? It is understanding the differences between the relaxation that give us the image contrast. And we do that by way of the RF energy, the RF pulse. So let's explore that together. We know, like I just mentioned, that there's T1 and T2 values to relaxation. That's how we define relaxation, as either being T1 or T2. And the next level is understanding that different tissues have very specific relaxation times, relaxation constants. Okay. Now I just gave you an idea of what one constant is, which is that 42.58 megahertz. That is a constant of hydrogen atoms in the main magnetic field, in a magnetic field. We also have constants with regards to relaxation rates of specific organs. How the relaxation differs gives us the ability to look at contrast. Contrast are two different shades, if you will, of the same object, or of the image itself. We're going to build on this. We tap in and highlight and adjust and manipulate image contrast by way of the RF pulse and the energy. And we can do that, and we know how to do it because of the Larmor frequency. We know exactly how much energy to put in, match the precession to generate what we call resonance, that signal, okay? And going a little bit deeper, it's not only the deposit of that RF pulse or that RF energy, but it's actually a pulse sequence where we are now going to really introduce TR and TE. Okay? I know that some of the Clover Learning videos have been giving you terms that you're like, well, wait a minute, we didn't hit on this yet. Or your textbook is like, wait a minute, we didn't hit on this yet. That's where live lecture comes in. That's where I come in. I now refine, clear up any questions, and they're all puzzle pieces, okay? Which is why it's so important to read your textbooks and watch those Clover videos. And now I will re-say some things that we've already covered, but I'll say it in a little different way to where we're now going down, diving deeper into the next level. Now we introduced the concept and the idea between T1 and T2 relaxation. We know that after the RF pulse, we're going to disturb the equilibrium. Hydrogen protons in tissues are going to return to their resting state through two independent processes. And those two independent processes are T1 and T2 relaxation. And although they're independent processes, what else is true about them being independent? What else is true about a T1 and a T2 relaxation? That even though they're independent, they are also what?
Simultaneous.
Thank you, Ty. Simultaneous. We are measuring them at the same time. Measuring those two different relaxations at the same time, yes. T1 longitudinal relaxation, the spins are going to recover alignment with the main magnetic field. I like to reintroduce things that we've already talked about because sometimes the terminology is a little bit different depending on the author and the Clover Learning author. You may also hear T1 longitudinal relaxation be referred to as longitudinal, change the color, longitudinal recovery. Longitudinal recovery and longitudinal relaxation. It's the same thing. It's all synonymous. Okay. Just want to make sure I shared that with you guys. T2 transverse relaxations, the spins lose phase coherence with each other. And that is what we're actually measuring for the T2 relaxation is the loss of phase coherence. And later, in later quarters, I'm going to talk about a little bit today, but in late or after the midterm, we are going to explore how the RF pulse, depending on when we give it, how long, how strong, we're going to change and manipulate that phase coherence as well. Okay. Every tissue has a unique T1 and T2 time constant, making these values the foundation of MRI contrast. Very, very important. Just a review, just a recap of the T1 and T2 relaxations. The time is constant for recovery of longitudinal magnetization. We're talking about T1 relaxation. And it reflects how quickly those spins are going to realign with the main magnetic field. For fat is going to have a short T1. And for CSF, which is cerebral spinal fluid, is going to have a long T1. Do I want you to know that it is at 250 milliseconds that fat is going to recover? No. I don't want you to know these for the midterm, and I don't want you to know these for this class. However, you will be responsible to know the milliseconds of fat and water and muscle. You will have to know those relaxation times later in the program. Later on your ARRT board exam, you're going to be given a case-based question. If I have a relaxation of such and such milliseconds, what image am I, or what contrast weighting am I going to get? You guys with me on that? Okay. Wanted to share that with you, but we're not there for this class. That'll be later in the program. Tissue with a short T1 recovers faster after RF excitation. That's what I want you guys to know for intro. Tissues with a short T1 recover faster after the RF excitation. For T2 relaxation, we know that that's a time constant for decay of the transverse magnetization. Decay, also synonymous with losing that phase coherence. It's a decay. Decay meaning it's losing its signal. It's losing it. Not so much relaxing as it is losing, okay, to the neighboring hydrogen atoms. This reflects the loss of phase coherence amongst the spins. And for fat, we also have a short T2. And for CSF, we also have a long T2. Tissues with long T2 retain signal longer after excitation. And that's the point that I want you guys to know for intro. Remember, I don't want you to know these milliseconds yet. Okay? Even though we are tapping into T1 relaxation and T1 and T2, fat is still going to appear on our image, right? We can't say, we can say that I only want to see the fat on a T1 sequence, T1 weighted sequence versus a T2. So I see how potentially like, well, wait a minute, fat is short on a T1, but it's also fat on a short, it's also short on a T2. Yes. I want you to stick with that. Don't go any further. Okay. Don't go any further than that. We'll cover it. Let's see. Okay. Let's take a 10. Before we go into how relaxation creates that difference, let's take a 10-minute. At 9:55 Pacific Standard Time, come back at 10:05. 10:05, and we'll go into this difference. Okay, guys? Stretch, get something to drink, walk around.
Professor, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So you want a short T1 and a long T2 for image quality?
I'm gonna stop you right there. Yes, depending on what pulse sequence you're running.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to pulse sequences yet. I'm still
Oh,
introducing the concept behind the relaxation and slowly introducing to you the fact that there's a pulse sequence, there's a rhythm, there's a repetitive cyclic rhythm that it also contributes to contrast. So it
okay.
is the relaxation, but there's more to it, right? So after the midterm, I'm really going to hit you guys hard with pulse sequences and the timing of T1 and T2 that are going to give you
Okay.
an indication of the contrast. Okay, so go ahead and continue. I wanted to make sure that we stayed there with that concept.
No, I've just been trying to understand uh, the contrast, the image contrast, and the quality, face coherence, and all that good stuff. And it's been a little hard. I have to definitely keep reading and reading and reading
Yes,
and going over my notes when it comes to this stuff. So are you saying that that stuff won't be on the midterm then? Like, for example, like repetition time, echo time?
exactly. It will not be on. I'm
Okay.
going to introduce it today. I'm going to introduce it today. I'm going to
Okay.
introduce some of it very generally because I don't want to over. If you think about what we've covered in weeks 1 through 4, we've covered a lot, believe it or not,
Yes.
right? We've covered a
Yes.
lot. So I don't want to weigh you guys down just yet with more details. There's so much more detail, right? That I'm leaving out, but I'm leaving it out on purpose. So I love
Okay.
that you're jumping ahead, and I love that you even know the TE and the TR, which we are going to go into. And I know, like I said, the Clover learning kind of goes into that. And you're like, well, wait a minute, we haven't really gone over it in class. There is a method to my madness, and I like to give you guys little bite-sized chunks so that you have time to marinate on that. You have time to sink your teeth into it before we move on to the next idea and concept. And it's not so much that we're moving on to a new concept or idea, we're building on. We're going to continue to build and build and build on what I introduce. So yes, stay
Gotcha.
here. Stay here, Bardo.
Gotcha.
Don't go
Okay.
any further.
Yeah. It's fun. It's exciting
It's
learning about this
exciting,
stuff. So
right?
my brain wants to,
Yes,
especially once one thing gets introduced, I'm like, oh, what is that?
and that's natural. And I want your brains to go there. I never want you to turn that off because the way your brain is doing that is going to give you the ability to really grasp these concepts, especially when you get into the more advanced levels of the physics. Okay. You're going to have to know, okay, I remember what we learned in intro, and I remember what Miss Gray introduced us to and talked about. Now I get to explore how that's happening and when we're doing it, which is going to be later in your physics.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, let's come back. Let's come back. Okay. Oh, let's give some context. Let's give some context to contrast. Okay. We are actually mapping the tissue's relaxation behavior when we generate MRI images. We are not taking photographs. Does this make sense? We're not using a camera to take pictures of the internal organs. We're actually mapping tissue's relaxation behavior. And this is what gives us the ability to have contrast. Okay. The different tissues relax at different rates after excitation we've covered. And this is the big part. This is the connection to contrast and the connection to me introducing pulse sequences to you. That yes, they have different relaxations, but it's when we choose to listen to the signal where we are going to emphasize T1 and T2 differences. And Bardo, this is for you when you mentioned TE and TR. Okay. We choose as technologists when to listen to the signal. And how we do that is by way of pulse sequence, which I'm going to introduce. We're not there yet. So these relaxation differences create the image. And yes, it's the relaxation, but as I just mentioned, later we're going to learn that it's the relaxation, but it's the timing of when we listen to the signal and those echoes that are going to give us that contrast. What I want you to know now is that fat is going to appear bright on the T1 and fluid is going to appear dark. You will have to know that for your midterm exam. And this is the very core fundamental of MRI. This is up for grabs on your ART board exam. They will test you on basic intro things, such as on a T1 weighted image, fat is going to appear bright and fluid is going to appear dark. We have a short TE or short TR and a short TE setting. Just write this down and keep it in the back, okay? Because I'm going to build on this later when we go into pulse sequences. T1 is excellent for anatomical detail and structures. Excellent. Tissues with a fast T1 recovery produce a stronger signal. T1 imaging is ideal for visualizing fat, subacute hemorrhage, and post-contrast enhancement. Now, you guys are not in medical terminology yet. We haven't gone over what subacute hemorrhage is, but I will share it with you now. Subacute means that, well, let me tell you what acute means. Acute means emergently, happened right now. Acute is immediate, emergent, just happened. Subacute is it happened within the week. Happened within the week. It wasn't today when we imaged. Hemorrhaging is bleeding. Okay. Most of your scans really are going to be the MRI brain. Okay. We're going to evaluate strokes. We're going to evaluate for bleeding. Okay. So what you're going to learn is that T1 and T2 has a very specific role in giving us an idea of pathology. What is happening to the patient's body and the organs specifically? We'll stop there because I want to go more. I want to tell you guys more, but I can't. T2 weighted, remember, is going to highlight transverse relaxation. Fluid is going to appear bright, and fat is going to appear intermediate. Why would I use intermediate? because it depends on certain parameters, which we're going to cover. But I want you to stick to T1 fat is going to appear bright. On a T1, fluid is going to appear dark. That is always if you're running a T1 weighted sequence. On a T2, fluid is going to appear bright. It's not going to be dark, it's going to be bright. And fat is going to appear intermediate. Okay? T2, we define T2 as having a long TR and long TE settings. Well, wait a minute. You just told me that on T2, fat has a short T2 and CSF has a long T2. Now, what are you talking about? I let you know about fat, but the pulse sequence itself has a long TR and a long TE. Certain organs are going to behave differently on a T2 than in a T1, and that's what we tap into. So stick with just these definitions. T2 is excellent for detecting edema and pathology. Edema is fluid. Edema is swelling, inflammation, infection. That's when we really use T2 weighted images. Tissues with a slow T2 decay retain the transverse magnetization longer. T2 is ideal for visualizing lesions, inflammation, and cerebral spinal fluid, which is abbreviated CSF. For your midterm and your quiz, do you have to know that what T2 weighted images are ideal for? Yes, you will have to know that. We're diving deeper, guys. We're getting harder into the material. You will have to know that. So, with introducing pulse sequences, I want to re-go over defining what the pulse frequency is. The RF pulse is a short burst of electromagnetic energy at the exact resonant frequency of hydrogen atoms in the body that spark the start of every MRI image. RF pulses in clinical MRI range between 42 and 128 megahertz, same frequency of FM radio stations. You need to know that? No, just a fun fact. You don't need to know that for your midterm. Okay, introducing radio frequency pulses, sequences. The RF pulse has a rhythm that we deliver, cyclic repetitive rhythm that we deliver. Okay. The RF pulse is an electromagnetic energy delivered at the resonant frequency of hydrogen protons of the main magnetic field. Miss Gray, you've said this over and over and over. I have to say it over and over because I want it to stick. Okay. I have to say it over and over. This targeted energy is the driving force behind the MRI signal generation. It tips the magnetization away from equilibrium alignment with B sub 0, so it tips it away from equilibrium. The flip angle determines the rotation, 90 or 180 degrees. Energy absorption excites spins and disturbs that equilibrium. Make a note of flip angle because I'm pretty sure I touch on it this lecture. RF pulse links T1 and T2 processes. Okay. Once the RF pulse ends, relaxation process begins immediately, which you guys showed me on your assignment that you turned in last night when you were giving me a roadmap of the process. The minute you take away that RF pulse, relaxation is immediate. Starts. T2 relaxation restores longitudinal magnetization, where T2 relaxation causes the transverse magnetization decay. Each tissue relaxes at its own characteristic rate, and the RF pulse is the initiating event linking pulse sequence design to tissue-specific relaxation behavior. That was a lot, and let me explain. Let me explain and go into it. Pulse sequences is the term that we use to explain the delivery of this RF energy. And it's not so much the delivery of the RF energy, but it's also the timing of when we give it, the timing of when we decide to collect that relaxation, which is the echo. And so the definition of the RF pulses and the signals that we collect are defined by these parameters. TR is repetition time. TR is time to repetition. This is important for you guys to take note of and know. TR signifies and stands for time to repetition. It controls how much T1 recovery occurs between pulses. Well, wait a minute, Miss Gray, we haven't talked about multiple excitations. We only talked about one. Every time we deliver an RF pulse of energy and we take it away, we are only capturing one echo, and one echo is one slice. Well, we actually want full slices of the whole brain. We don't just want one slice. We don't just want the top. We want all the slices, which are 300 slices of the brain. So as the term has given you an indication of what TR is, time to repetition. We have to deliver, take away, and repeat that over and over and over for every slice, for every echo. Okay? When, see, I'm giving you too much info because we're not supposed to be going over when and how, but when we decide to repeat that deposit of RF energy, we are going to control how much T1 recovery happens. Just keep that definition. Don't go any further than that. Time to echo. Do you remember on the slide previously I mentioned that we choose when to listen to that signal. And when we listen to this signal is going to give us an indication as to what contrast we're looking at. That is controlled by TE, time to echo. What time am I requiring the machine to listen to that relaxation, that signal? That is TE, time to echo. And that is going to control how much T2 decay occurs before signal readout. Depending on when I select, believe it or not, I'm giving you a hint. You and I, as MRI technologists, are going to dictate a value. We are going to tell the machine, give me a TE of 30. Give me a TE of 90. Give me a TE of 100. And when we do that, we are going to get different contrasts, different weighting. Stay there. Don't go any further. Here it is right here. By adjusting TR and TE, we weight images toward T1, toward T2, or proton density. And understanding the relaxation is key to designing a sequence that produces diagnostic contrast. And if you can see, the term sequence in and of itself gives you an indication that it is a sequence of events. It is a precise sequence of events that allow us to tap into the difference in contrasts. Almost, guys, almost done. Connecting relaxation to the pulse sequence design, okay? The RF pulse at the Larimar frequency tips, we know that, initiating T1 and T2 relaxation processes. We are going to give that RF pulse, and the relaxation is going to determine the signal when we decide to listen to that relaxation. Do I want to listen to it immediately? Do I want to wait 10 seconds to listen to it? Okay, that is going to determine how much recovery has happened and how much T2 decay has happened at that particular precise moment when I decide to listen. And when I do that, I'm going to have a difference. I'm going to be able to highlight different contrasts. The key thing is timing optimizes contrast. Timing optimizes contrast. TR, repetition time, and TE are chosen to exploit relaxation differences. This is a lot, but this is so impactful. There's a lot to unpack here. Okay. This statement right here is me explaining pulse sequence and relaxation with one sentence, which you guys already explored. That yes, you can explain MRI in 3 sentences, but there's so much more to it, so much more detail. I'm going to give you one sentence for pulse sequences and one sentence for the purpose of pulse sequences and the idea and concept behind the difference in contrast weighting and being able to see different contrasts. It would be that the TR and the TE that we choose are going to exploit relaxation differences. Keep it at that. We'll unpack that later in the program. For now, I want you to know that a short TR and a short TE is going to give you T1 weighted images, no matter what. No matter what. A short TR, time to repetition, and a short TE, time to echo. It's going to give you T1 weighted images. A long TR and a long TE is going to give you T2 weighted images. Always. That'll never change. A long TR and a short TE is going to give you proton density images, weighted images. Proton density will be later in the program. Later in the program. Now the fun stuff. Now we get into the good stuff. A little sneak peek. A little sneak peek, guys. Ty, go ahead.
So from what you're saying, I'm gathering that T2 generally takes a little bit longer than T1. Is that correct
Correct.
to infer that? Okay.
Correct. Absolutely. And we tap into this, Ty. We tap into this understanding and knowledge to generate this image right here. This is the brain. This is midway cut through the brain. You guys haven't gone over orientations yet. Lexi's going to go over that into 002. When you get into your 002, right now you're in MRI 001. 002 is going to explain that we divide the body into 3 different orthogonal planes. Okay. Clover may have been hinted to it a little bit in some of the information, but this is an axial image. This is an axial slice. Okay. I'm not going to go any further than that. Of the brain, the same brain, at the same location. Why do I see 2 different colors? Contrasts. Do you guys see the difference? Yes, it's black and white. Yes, it's gray, but it's different. Do you see that difference? Based on what I shared with you about how T1 is and how T2 is, and let's just say only zone in on the CSF fluid, cerebral spinal fluid. Which one is T1 and which one is T2? Looking at the brain image, which one is T1 and which one is T2?
I think T2 is B because it shows the fluid, right? There's a little bit
Excellent.
more highlighting the fluid versus
Yep.
highlighting the fat.
Excellent, Vincent. Excellent, excellent. This is T1 and this is T2. You see the benefit of having T1 and T2. It gives us an idea of what's happening. What do I mean by an idea? On a T1, I see that there's something right here. I see that there's a lesion. Could be metastasis, meaning it could be cancerous, it could be malignant, could not. We don't know yet. But on this image, I see all of the surrounding edema, fluid. That's going to give me an indication as to what the pathology is. The radiologist is going to then tell me what this is. Believe it or not, the radiologist is also He knows those relaxation times to a T, down to the millisecond. In fact, as MRI technologists, we manipulate the TR and the TE to enhance contrast, also to get quicker sequences, which you're going to experience in the clinic. We don't want to adjust these parameters too much because the radiologist, I promise you, is going to know if you've changed the TR or the TE by 1 millisecond. They will know, and they might get upset because when we sample the echo, time to echo, and when we repeat time to repetition, it's going to change the appearance of the contrast weighting. They will know. So we have very strict boundaries, confinements, boxes. A T1 is a short TR and a short TE no matter what. What are the short TR and TE values? We're not there yet. Don't worry about it. I want you to know a T1 has a short TR and a short TE. And conversely, a T2 has what? What does a T2 have? Put it in the chat. It's okay. You can look at your notes. You can look at your notes. A long TR and a long TE. And by understanding that, when I see that a T2 has a long TR and a long TE, and a T1 has a short TR and a short TE, they look different. And that's the art of MRI. You guys are going to be what I like to say, artists. Not every one of you are going to do the same thing exactly the same way, angulating your slices. Okay? You still will run the cookie cutter box confinement that you will be in with a T1 is a short TR and a short TE, T2 is a long TR and a long TE. The takeaway is that tissue has specific T1 and T2 relaxation times. We've tapped into those differences on the brain. I'm not taking different pictures of different brains. This is still the same brain. But different tissues, the fat and the fluid have different relaxations, and we can tap into that and see that on an image. And those relaxation differences produce image contrast. When we deliver the RF energy, when we decide to repeat the RF energy, and when we decide to listen to the signal, time to echo is going to also dictate contrast. And we do that by way of pulse sequences. Pulse sequences are going to optimize imaging. And we're going to get into that after midterm. We have a fast spin echo, a spin echo. We have an inversion recovery. We have a proton density. We're not there yet. Fun stuff is after the midterm. All right, guys, no more. No more. I know you guys all want to stay. You all want to get into the physics of MRI. That's it. I'm cutting you off. We're done. Please, please, please keep that inquisitive mind. Keep the idea and the concept of why we're doing this. How exactly is this happening? But don't let it distract you because you are going to get there later in the program. Stick to just what I share with you to build that strong foundation. Okay, guys? That's it. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your next classes if you have them. Study hard, and I will see you all next week. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, guys. Have a good week. I'm going to stop the recording now. I will hang out. I do have students on my schedule, and that is for later. But if you wanted to meet earlier, since we finished lecture earlier, we can do that.
Yes. Hi, Miss Gray.
All
I
right.
have a 12 p.m. with you, and if you want to meet early.